Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we need to talk about MirageGaoGamon and why it's finally time for him to go away. Now, I will tell you that MirageGaoGamon is probably my favorite non-yellow deck to play right now. I just like playing it. I do like playing it. It's fun to play. It's not hard to play unless you're playing the Galaxy version, then it gets a little bit harder. But the deck just promotes the problem with Digimon right now. It's very easy bake oven, 1, 2, 3, solitaire. That's a very big problem with this deck and this card in general. Like, it just promotes a very unhealthy, uninteractive kind of style. So today I'm going to go into my arguments of why this card needs to go. It needs to go away. Now, Bandai might never touch this card. They might decide to touch something else in the deck. I don't know what else they would touch in the deck on a ban list besides MirageGaoGamon itself. I don't really know, because this card is the problem. One of the biggest problem, I'd say, anyway. But you guys let me know what you think in the comment section. And did you feel like this kind of video? You know, do you think I'm right about MirageGaoGamon? Do you think I'm overhyping MirageGaoGamon? It did just win the One Nationals earlier, like, in the weekend. And this deck just topped a bunch of spots in Ultimate Cup. It also will probably top Nationals. It could even win Nationals, honestly. It's been winning for many sets now. It's been topping for many sets now. So let me know what you think about today's discussion in the comments. Of course, please like and subscribe and turn that notification on to smash potatoes. That way you know when all these amazing Digimon videos go live. So this is the big boss monster himself. He debuted in BT11. This guy says, when Digivolving, return when your opponent's level 5 or lower Digimon to its owner's hand. If no Digimon was returned by the effect, your opponent adds the top card of the security stack to their hand. Then all turns once per turn. This is the big part of the card. When an effect adds cards to your opponent's hand, gain 1 memory for every 4 cards in your opponent's hand. It's a floodgate. It's a card that interrupts your opponent from doing things. Do you know how many decks like adding cards to their hand by effects? Almost all of them is the answer, including MirageGaoGamon. Like, this one card is good against so many decks in the meta in a vacuum. It really is. Like, I can't tell you the number of times I've beaten Imperial, let's say, for example, because I choked them to 1 with MirageGaoGamon. They have their Davis and Ken Tamer on play. That's fine, whatever. But they can't play their Vmon or their Wormmon with it that searches, because if they do, it passes over the turn. So they have to get around it somehow. And it's not very easy. And it's just, you know, that's just the craziest part. This card can bounce aces, like cards that could turn into aces. Knowing level 5s that turn to level 6 aces, you can just bounce those. Or it can clean up security. Like, those are all good things. There's nothing bad about this card. That's how good it is. So when this came out in BT11, right? Yes, everyone knew this card was, it was fine at the time, but it wasn't anything groundbreaking. It didn't really start doing anything crazy until BT13 came out with MirageGaoGamon Burst Mode. This giant OTK dragon looking beast knight data blue thing, which evolves on it for free. It can basically swing as many times as you want, as long as the opponent has more than 8 cards in hand. And it just OTKs your opponent, depending if you have a setup for it. Like, if you have constantly cards that can add a card to your opponent's hand, then you can constantly swing with MirageGaoGamon Burst Mode. You can go from 5 security to game with this card. You could do it back in the day. You could still kind of do that today if you wanted to. It's a very insane card. It's an OTK button. It's very strong on its own. And what's even better is this is a burst evolution on MirageGaoGamon, right? So let's say that you can't win the game that turn. Well, no problem. Burst mode goes away, and you're back to just having a really good floodgate on the board. Like, that's just really good value for a really good card. It's pretty crazy. You guys remember the deck was doing things, and it required this card to go to 1. This MirageGaoGamon that, when Digivolving, returned to level 4 lower the hand, and just when attacking once returned on suspend, basically. They limited this card to 1. It didn't really do anything. You know what I mean? It did nothing. It did not slow the deck down at all, because it had other tools it can play. There are other, like, MirageGaoGamons, right? Now, this card didn't really see a whole lot of play, right? It was deemed the worst one. This actually changed when Magnamon X Antibody came out in BT16. people, MirageGaoGamon players would see this card and say, "Oh, Magna X is a buy, no problem." And that was during the time where people were also like, "Magna X is impossible to beat. This card's gonna warp Digimon. We're fucked. It's game over." And it wasn't. That was not tier 0 by any means. And this card could slippery slide around the Magna X because you can't switch attack targets with this card when attacking, right? And it carries over, so like you can OTK. It's pretty cool. We also got to include cards like this when BT14 came out. You know, Gomamon if you wanted to start a main phase, trash a source, and then it can't be blocked for the turn. This card was also seeing a lot of play with Magna X around because it was another way to dodge it. If you could go to Gomamon, all the way to Mirage, which you could do reasonably because at that time we had memory boosts. We also had trainings. So the trainings would just let you go from 3 to 6, no problem, and then you can just start doing things. Really good memory economy. But we'll get to BT16 in a second, because I think that's when things really changed for the better for Mirage. Well, I'll get there momentarily. But BT14 not only introduced Gomamon, but introduced a new defensive option in the deck called Zudamon Ace. Conveniently a good level 5 to replace the fallen to 1 MirageGaoGamon from EX04. This card is a Blast Digivolve that strips sources and bounces those things. It's also an ultimate you can just play for 4, and then evolve a Mirage on top of, which you might be able to do same turn. Like, you might have Memory Tamer Thomas and a Memory Boost or something. So, like, you could crack the Memory Boost, play Zudamon Ace to evolve into the Mirage. That's a reasonably strong play. It is. I can't tell you how many more times I've done that. So, like, this card was a great asset for the deck, absolutely. But I do think things really changed for Mirage when this card came out. This card is what turned me on to Mirage. Because, like, Mirage was slowly getting better. You know, whatever. I don't know if I would have called it tier 1 in, like, BT15 or 14 or whatever. But it was definitely there. I think this card changed everything. And I know that's a very YouTube cliche thing to say, like, this card changes everything about whatever. I'm not going to do that on this video. But I really do think that this card gave the deck so much credit. Like, it made the deck so much better. This random level 4 Galgamon has a Wind Digivolving effect where both players draw a card if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, or if Digimon has 3 more digital cards, gain a memory. Also, is Jamming Inheritable. Jamming Inheritable became a staple for MirageGaoGamon because there's big shit in security. Magna X's, big aces like Paladin Mode Ace later on, and all sorts of nonsense. This was just a really good level 4. Like, worst case scenario, he was a 2-cost level 4 evolution that helped you get closer to your game plan and got you cards too, because it drew for you too. And your opponent, which gets them closer to 8 cards, which means your deck turns on. But best case scenario, this is a 1-cost evolution. Best case scenario, maybe you got some burst mode stuff going on, you have memory to work with, you swing with a burst mode. You play, I think it's EX4 Galmon, both players draw a card. So then you swing again with Mirage Burst mode. Then you evolve that into this Galgamon for 1, because that's fine. They draw a card, and now you can attack, and then attack again with Mirage Burst mode. Like, this card did so much for the deck that I think this is, in my opinion, I know some people will say, well, actually, Mario, it became tier 1, whatever. I think that this was the breaking point for the deck when it became too good. And you might have noticed one other interesting thing about this card. It's a Nightclaw. So it fits into the Lunar Solar deck with the Lunamons and the Broken Tamers and the crazy stuff that this deck does. Like, all this crap. Not this crap, sorry. But, like, Coronamon, the Red Tamer. Like, my God, is this deck, like, really good. I'm going to be real. I didn't take this deck seriously at all. I was introduced to it by my one female Canadian friend. You know who you are. And, you know, it lets you play Mirage in this deck. You can do a turn 2 Mirage with, like, a freaking Coronamon and the Memory Tamer. It's bananas because of this card. This card unlocked the whole thing. If it wasn't for this card, you couldn't really do Mirage stuff in like the solar deck, the lunar deck. But you can. You can. And it's a legitimate way to play the deck, and it still sees play even today in Japan and in English. And it's a really good deck. I play it. I have both MirageGaoGamon built, and I have this deck built. And like, they're both really good ways to do it. Like, it's just crazy. It's really good. This I will say that though this requires a brain, you do need to have a little more of a brain. It's not the easy bake 1-2-3 deck like MirageGaoGamon regular is. It's not. I wouldn't say it's the hardest deck in the world to play either, but like you can't misplay with the deck or you get punished. Whereas one of the key things about MirageGaoGamon is you can play like an absolute fucking buffoon and still do well because this deck doesn't care about your feelings because it's a floodgate that OTKs you and doesn't interact with the opponent at all except with their hand size. Once they have 8 cards plus, you don't care. You just don't care, and you can bounce the race potential with the MirageGaoGamon and the burst mode. They can't interact with you at all. And we obviously covered that Magna X doesn't care either. You don't care about that card. So anyway, yeah, so gave you the option to really do this kind of stuff. And then we have a new tool in the EX07, Hexablau, another floodgate. Yes, your MirageGaoGamon deck and your Galaxy decks have 2 blue floodgates for different things. I've had games where you get both up. It's so stupid. It's insane. So that doesn't help. And now, I know that this is where we are right now, but as soon as people get the Special Limited set, we're getting the blue scrambles, which you can play in regular Mirage, and you can do stupid things with it. I've tested it. You can. It's insane. You can put memory boosts and trainings and scrambles in Mirage. It's bananas. But we are also getting a tech option. I'm not saying this card is mandatory in the deck. I'm not even saying the scramble is mandatory. I think it just seems foolish not to play it. But you can actually play this card, this Gabumon Bond of Friendship Ace, because you can evolve it on your MirageGaoGamon, because they might just try to attack you, because how else are they going to win? And then you evolve this, and then all of a sudden, you're bouncing their shit. Sure, you'll lose your Floodgate maybe to do it, but like, it's a really good hand trap. Like, it's powerful. It does great things. And it's strong. It's annoying to deal with. So, like, look, I think, and I'm again, I love the deck. If I could just keep playing the deck, I probably would. If I was going to Nationals, I was playing either this, Yellow Vaccine, or Ancient Greymon. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to Nationals anymore because I've made plans for another trip that week. But it was one of those 3 decks. It was down to that. It would have been this, it would have been Yellow Vaccine, Ruin Mode, Venusmon Turbo, or it would have been Ancient Greymon. That would have been it. But this card itself is too strong. And I don't know what else you could hit in the deck that really affects it besides hitting it. Because don't forget, let's say you were to hit a core piece in the Mirage engine itself. Then, like, that's fine. Just play Galaxy. No problem. I think the only other card you can hit that's not MirageGaoGamon is this. But if you hit that, that will do a little bit of damage, but it still won't deal with the main problem of the deck, which is this card. Yeah, it might be harder to play it in the Galaxy version, but you can still play this regular version of Mirage no problem. Yeah, this goes to 1, a little less consistent, but like, you know, it's okay. Not going to be the end of the world. It'll still be, I'd say, still tier 1, even with that 1 hit, because the deck is that good. It just does well. Maybe tier 2, but it'll still be around unless you get rid of this card. And it would kill the deck if you hit this card. Absolutely. It's the heart and soul of the deck. You have to do something weird, like maybe, I don't know, play the BT13 Mirage, one of this, and play burst modes, which just seems weird, which I guess you could do, but like hitting this card would make a lot of people happy, I think. But that being said, let me know what you think in the comments. I think either this needs to go or this needs to go. But, you know, I'm open to your opinions and thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you do really enjoy this type of video, I got lots more in the thought bank about this kind of stuff. So just let me know in the comments. Either way, I will see you guys later. Goodbye.